And my husband told him, you don't have to. If you want to kill anybody, kill me, because I am not signing.
Standing up to criminals made Hazem a marked man. He was gunned down as he left for work one day by men dressed as policemen. But they weren't.
It was imposters. I heard the shots in the house because it happened so near to my house. They just came at very, very short range and blew his head off.
Hazem's assassination in 2004 was one of the first. Hundreds followed. Lawyers, professors, educated people Basra couldn't afford to lose. As the chaos unfolded, people began to flee from Basra and towns across Iraq. It's become one of the greatest mass movements of people in recent history. More than 2 million have been displaced within Iraq. Millions more have fled to surrounding nations. Most have come to Syria. I went to the UN's Refugee Processing Center in Damascus on a quiet day.
This is just a tiny number of what's estimated to be around 2 million refugees from Iraq that have flooded here into Syria and neighbouring Jordan. They've waited all day in the boiling hot sun. They'll be here tomorrow and the day after. They're desperate to get settlement somewhere else, to get a visa to stay here in Syria or to move abroad.
Thousands of refugees have found a welcome in this district of Damascus known as Little Iraq. Travel agents offering cheap coach trips. Shops baking Iraq's famous bread. This is how Basra and Baghdad used to be. Vibrant and open, people mixing freely. But everywhere I heard stories of fear and repression back home in Basra. One family invited me in for a traditional lunch of grilled Iraqi fish. They came here earlier this year. Again, we've had to protect their identities. A manager in Basra during Saddam's time, Latif's a Sunni. That was enough for the militiamen, in cahoots again with the police.
The Iraqi police stopped me, the Basra police. It was they who took me, 4 of them, from my car at gunpoint. They didn't take me to the police station, or the local council, or any official place. They took me to the Mahdi army militia. After they brought me there, the Mahdi army tortured me.
One of Latif's relatives later filmed his injuries on a mobile phone.
8 of them hit me with metal rods, and every time they stopped, someone would come and try to strangle me. He wanted to execute me and tightened the rope to choke me, but God didn't want him to kill me. They lined people up and shot them, or ransomed them for money after torturing them. They got $20,000 for me and let me go.
The United Nations told us 1 in 5 Iraqi refugees who register with them here in Syria have been victims of torture. It's not only Sunnis who've been forced out of Basra. In another street, I found a Shia, once a manager in a big hotel. His father had written nationalist poetry in Saddam's day, so the son became a target for the militias.
First you get a letter. Then they threaten you by shooting bullets at your front door. After that, if you don't heed these threats, they will try and kill you. Essentially, a death squad will come to kill people who are marked. That's how it is.
What strikes you about this Iraq in exile is how everyone gets on so well. There's little distinction between Shia and Sunni Muslims. Up to 40% of Basra used to be Sunni, and there were many mixed marriages. Now, like so much of Iraq, the city is mostly divided along sectarian lines. This couple fled after he was held for 14 days in a secret militia prison. His crime? Being the wrong kind of Muslim.
I'm a Shia and my husband is a Sunni. We never discriminated between Sunnis and Shia.
But now, no. Relationships are difficult for people who've married into mixed Shia or Sunni families. There are now sectarian conflicts within those families.
The couple who came here last year say it was the British who let the militias become all-powerful.
They left a vacuum, and the people of Basra have lost out. Because the factions have come in to mess things up, to mess around with the city. And there is no one to stop them.
At night, Little Iraq is filled with music, unlike Basra these days. There, a hardline Islamic ideology's taken root, not the freedom the British promised. It's not just Sunnis and women who are suffering, it's anyone who threatens that ideology. Basra was once famous for its music, but now one of its well-known musicians is in exile, lamenting the fate of his home.
Music was one of the first things to be forbidden in Basra because of the many religious sects, weird and strange tribal conflicts which have led to the banning. It's become an obsession, even with ordinary people, that they shouldn't listen to music. This in itself is backwardness.
Little Iraq in Damascus offers a vision of what Basra once was and could be again. More relaxed and free for women. Music, no stigma being Sunni or Shia. Yet even here, the exiles have to be careful.
People have come here because they feel safe in Little Iraq. They've escaped the terror of Basra. But the fact of the matter is that the militias are everywhere. We're conscious that we've been watched while we've been here, and even more worryingly, so have some of the families that we've been talking to. It seems that even here in Syria, people from Basra can't escape from the watchful eye of the militias.
The Mahdi army and other militias have opened offices in Damascus. Despite all the testimony we heard, their leader flatly denies they've chased anyone out of Basra.
If you're saying some families have been forced to flee Basra, I hadn't heard of a single case. No one's had threats made against them, except perhaps by some criminals.
Back in Basra, now the British have withdrawn from the city centre. There are no more pitched battles with the militias. Iraqi security forces are in charge. These men are training to rescue kidnapped victims. But it's hard for people to know who to trust. It's the police who should be protecting them. Millions in British aid has been invested in training them. But the police force is still a hotbed of corruption and sectarian score settling, as our diarist confirmed.
It is difficult in Basra to tell what is official or not. Militias and Islamic movements penetrate the police and state utilities. They kill and assassinate in police uniform, using police weapons, driving police vehicles.
Iraq's government has pinned its hopes on a new police chief. General Jalil's job is to clean up the force and restore law and order here in Basra.
Major General Jalil, salam alaikum.
Good to see you.
Jane Corbin from the...
When I met him, he told me that forcing out hundreds of corrupt and partisan officers had made him a target.
So you had a busy day today?
7 times so far, his enemies have tried to assassinate him.
I've been subjected to assassination attempts. Some by roadside bombs, some by snipers. These attempts are continuous, almost daily. However, this doesn't affect my work. On the contrary, I'm more determined and I feel I'm doing a good job. It's starting to impact on those outside the law who don't want security and stability in Basra.
But he's dealing with a multi-million-pound mafia with money to burn, thanks to Basra's enormous oil reserves.